Hello, everyone. What an honor to follow Tina Camp. I was saying at lunch today that this all feels a little bit like a hallucination. It feels like this kind of beautiful freedom dream. But now I'm here, and it's nerve-wracking, and it's real, and you're here. And we're all here together, and I'm just so grateful for this, for everyone who's dreamt this and made it possible for us to gather. When I got the invitation to be with you, and I saw the list, my heart didn't really know what to do with itself, because I'm just so full of admiration for all of your hearts. So thank you for having me. I'm going to tell you a little story about medicine, or dawa in Swahili. It's summer. Oh, how do I do this? It's not working. Okay. It's summer 2015, and I'm sitting on a mat in front of a mganga, a traditional healer in Zanzibar. I'd been given a year-long residency at the Florence Trust. It's not working. It's not, I'm sorry. At the Florence Trust. A church in North London that had been access to artists but was not deconsecrated, meaning it is still holy. And I wanted to spend my time contemplating what belief is, always through this latent lens, searching somehow for home. So I'm in Zanzibar. Oh, I think it just takes time. No? I'm in Zanzibar, my mother's place, where a few years before, a young girl I knew, Hawa, had gone missing. When she came back, panicked, disheveled, she said she had been taken by the spirits, and she couldn't tell us where she'd been or what had happened to her, but she'd physically disappeared for some days, and we wanted justice. The community was adamant that she wasn't to go to the police or to the hospital, but to the mganga, because the spirits were obviously angry, and she had to appease them. She did. He told her what she needed to do, which herbs to drink and words to recite. His nurses gave her a knife to hold as they cut her skin at pulse points and rubbed dawa into her bleeding wounds to ward off further danger. She followed his instruction, and a couple of weeks later, it was never mentioned again, with the communal understanding that she was now, once again, fine. What was fascinating to me, somewhat dislocated, having been raised in the diaspora, in a secular household and socialized by the West, was how the belief in the power of the spirits meant that a very real trauma could be placed in this illusionary box and dealt with in an illusionary way, and the trauma would seemingly disappear in a way that no amount of justice, the way I knew it, is ever able to. So, with Hawa's consent, now us both adults and able to talk retrospectively about this thing that had happened, which she recalled as being akin to having malaria, feverish, delirious. She knows something happened, but struggles to remember what. I went to her healer. And when I got there, he made me sit down, and he asked me my name. And I told him Phoebe. And he wrote it in his book. And as soon as he did, I got this incredible, excruciating pain right here. It shot through and it landed here. It was like nothing I've ever felt before. I didn't react openly, not wanting to let him know. After all, I was a somewhat skeptical Londoner, and this wasn't about me anyway. I was there only as witness, curious, like the cat. So I took a deep breath, and we continued. He told me he never wanted to be a healer, but that the spirits had come to him at night, convincing him over time that he had been chosen. He protested, saying that he wasn't literate. How could he possibly be the one? The spirits placated him. They told him they would teach him to read and to write, and eventually he conceded. And he can indeed now read and write people's names in his book. He told me that because he had never desired the power of Mganga, he never uses it for his own gains. What he does do most often, he said, was cure women of female problems. Like what, I ask, cautiously, not really sure I want to know. Like unmarriedness, for example. That's a really common one. All right, so how do you deem a woman cursed with unmarriedness? Does she come to you, having struggled to find a husband? Is it an age thing? And he says, no, it's really simple. When a woman is cursed with unmarriedness, she has the spirit of a lizard living inside her, which I can see. And the spirit lives here. And he points to the exact point in my tummy that is right now throbbing in agony. So I say, okay, I'm 33 and I'm not married. Maybe I'm cursed with unmarriedness. Can you see a lizard? And he says, no, I can't check you now. You need to come back with the offering and I'll do it properly. But if you do indeed have a lizard, I can remove it for you really easily, no problem. So I fly back to London, still in masses of pain. I go to the NHS, I do loads of tests, and they find nothing, absolutely nothing. And they put it down to the fact that I'd been in Africa. So I go to my studio and I start trying to make work. I'm still focused on this story of this girl, but sitting in London, everything I'm trying to make is coming across as very cynical, very colonial, very exploitative and exploitable, very much spoken in the language of me, sitting over here, looking over there, saying, look at how distant that stuff is. And still my tummy ached. And I realized then that this is where the truth lay. This pain, this body thing, this was where a truthful exploration, spoken in a truthful language, might begin if I really wanted to figure out how and why we believe. And also how to speak, who I am within these stories. It became an exploration into language itself. I work across a wide spectrum of media, drawing, animation, and installation, and I think a lot about language. I remember sitting in a talk at the British Library once between Ngugi wa Thiong'o and his two sons. Ngugi, in his thick Kikuyu accent, his voice rich with stories of anguish and of joy, passionately appealed to us all to write in our mother tongue, indeed to claim back our voices by removing our English robes. Of course, my language is visual, so perhaps I needn't have felt the surge of inability that I felt, because I don't need to use words. I don't need to learn how to place my tongue in order to correctly roll Kikuyu R's, or click in Xhosa, or rise and fall in Amharic. But the surge was strong nonetheless and filled with anxieties, hesitations, and resentments that I somehow cannot make truthful work about home, that I don't have the means or the right to. Because there are still translations to be made when creating visual languages. There's still necessity to consider how we as artists are speaking, who we are when we're speaking, who we're speaking to, who is listening, and what we want to say. In order to truthfully communicate what it means to be me in the world right now, my language needs to be pliable enough to squeeze into Kikuyu corners, eke itself into English edges, and also float in the middle space, the space between. I'm thinking about care, about the sacred bond between the artist and the subject, the care required to enter into that bond, the caress between artist and audience, the ecosystem of care required to hold our work, and how often careless the art world can be, how inextricably it is linked to the trappings of capitalism, the choke of coloniality. Anyway, I flew to Zanzibar to the healer Simanzi. He channels the spirits through Coca-Cola. So you bring him one, and he puts it between his feet as you sit before him, and he starts to rub it and to moan. He then rises up, speaking in this language that isn't quite Swahili. His nurses are perched against the wall, watching you, and they translate. You're not sure where the concoction of the narrative begins. Does it begin when the spirits in the Coke bottle whisper to him that they know the nature of your complaint and that he is speaking coherently in this spirit language, which his nurses have learned to translate? Or is he putting on an elaborate show, rubbing and writhing and groaning and rolling his pupils to the backs of his eyes, and meanwhile his nurses are watching you, reading you, and then they say the things they think you want to hear? He told me that I did indeed have a lizard spirit in me, which is preventing marriage. It's called Jini Marhaba, the passion spirit. It doesn't prevent me from meeting lovers, but it makes me do everything in my power to mess it all up. He told me that I could get rid of it very easily. All I have to do is go back to him every day for 7 days, and he has to rub my entire body with a specific leaf. And he says after that, I'll be married in a month. I decline. I come back to London and start making work. My stomach still hurts. The work is about storytelling. It's about how narratives are put together with such nuance as to make you believe them, told to you in such a way as to reassure a fragile part of yourself. I became fascinated with how you tell a story. Even this, talking to you today, how might I blur the edges of illusion through my art making and my language and my slides when they work? So you, my audience, are not entirely sure. Did this even happen? Did it? Does her stomach hurt? Does it matter? I call the NHS again, and I speak to a doctor from Uganda, who, having heard I first felt this pain while visiting a healer, promptly removes herself from my case. I ask if she believes the pain could have been brought on by my visit. She hesitates before whispering, low, almost inaudible, so none of her colleagues can hear, yes. I stare at the sky, and I hang up the phone. I make a couple of films and some experimental bits and pieces. I attempt to recreate Holbein's Dead Christ with my naked charcoal body on all sides and an interactive screen on top nestled within my drawn chest, which acts like an ultrasound. You shimmy around it and sort of find the lizard. The tomb is held up by Coca-Cola bottles. I inundate my wall with clay lizards and start to write little notes on my studio wall in pencil, standing here is bad luck and the like. And I watch as curators on studio visits catch glimpse of them and subtly step away. We're suggestible creatures. When I tell an aunt who's born again what I'm working on, she's irate. She says I'm being careless. Still, I chalk it up to religion being the power of deep suggestion. Obviously, when Simanzi saw me, he thought, what are this girl's weak edges? And in Zanzibar, being my age and unmarried would have been cause for utmost concern. So he took one look at my singleness and put a lizard on it. Please close your eyes. Time passes. I show my experiments in an art lab type situation in Deptford in London. On the last day of the show, we have a little party, and it pours with rain. And a person arrives who I'll later fall in love with, who will later accidentally smash my eye, and later still break my heart. While in love, we regularly joke about how they have conquered the lizard. you can open your eyes. I'm lying in a hospital bed in the high dependency cardiac wing. All around me, sick people are contemplating life, contemplating dying, contemplating this middle moment between living and death, and some are shouting in delirium, in medicated sleep. One woman in the bed next to me keeps repeating something over and over, "Take me to the lighthouse, take me to the lighthouse," repeatedly in Urdu, adrift at sea, and I lie beside her, heartbroken, eye broken, wondering where my lighthouse is. I'm out of hospital and bleak. I'm coming to terms with my right eye, which is now held together by science, sellotape, graphite, and hope. I soon realized that my body needs more to heal itself. It needs a full-body, visceral sensation. So I, too, return to the sea, to the lighthouse. I start making these charcoaly seascapes, imaging them through my varying moods, in the hope that somewhere on the horizon, there might be light. I start conversing with René Musai about what I'm making and how art has become this safety valve, a ritual practice, a belief system in itself. Together, we gently trace the outline of a show with a gradual acceptance that what I'm making is not self-indulgent, since grief is universal and Black women should be allowed to grieve, be vulnerable, be soft, scream, fall apart publicly. I'm given 21 days at Autograph in London to draw by myself on the wall. Every day, I draw myself onto this taped horizon, 27 meters of it. It is deep catharsis to draw myself and leave myself there on the gallery wall. I draw in soft willow charcoal and do not fix it, inviting you, the audience, to care for me. It's an exercise in trust, delicate, after my spirit has been entirely shattered. I'm in Zanzibar again at my family home, healing. Friends ask if I'll go back to the healer. There's a sense that it would bring things full circle. I'm too depressed to make a reasonable call about this, so I ask my mother to drive me there. I'm sitting outside his hut, Simanzi's. Time has passed, but the chickens still wander, pecking at bits of maize and mango skins and fish guts. A pile of empty Coca-Cola bottles languishes under a tree, ready to be taken to the bottle shop in exchange for cash. I have a Coke bottle on the dashboard, and I'm paralyzed. I can't go in. Life has been too much. I worry that whatever he says, he could say anything, tell me to do anything, and I would believe it, and I would do it if he said it would make me feel better. I recall witnessing another of his patients those years before, who was told to find a 3-colored chicken who would then be dipped in green dawa, a green paste, which would then be used to hit her in the face to rid her of night terrors. If the chicken died from the hitting, her pain, a curse, would go away. I remember being flummoxed, arrogant and judgmental in my concern. When this woman said that she would do this, she'd go and she'd find that chicken, and then she wanted to be hit in the face as hard as she could. Sitting in that car, unable to go in for fear I too would agree to such a cure, I realized that in learning to navigate my new distrust for my disobedient body, I myself had shifted. Thank you.